With episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, Disney's saga is at long last complete after 9 goddamn episodes. It started with a big fantasy shot in the arm that was The Force Awakens, then the divisive, let's just say, The Last Jedi, and finally we had The Rise of Skywalker. And while a thrill ride for the whole family, did leave me personally scratching my head a little bit. And again, I just want to make this perfectly clear, alright? The appeal of the Star Wars films is not locked into some kind of perfect level of continuity, but after 9 films and all these overarching stories and all these different characters and their origins and their hopes and their dreams, you do kind of look at it all and just think, that don't make sense. So let's just go through them and have a nice little friendly time while we're doing it. So, with great love and affection, my name is Adam Cleary, and these are things that make no sense about the Star Wars saga. Luke trained Leia. I mean, yeah, alright, on the surface, I guess it makes sense. She was at least sensitive with the Force. We knew that. She was the fabled sister of Luke Skywalker, who you presume after the Empire collapsed would want to rebuild the Jedi Order, and it makes sense that he would start with the person who was closest to him in all of this, and it makes sense that he would have taught her a few things along the way, so she should be able to do a whole flying nun trick in The Last Jedi and the whole Deus Ex Machina thing in The Rise of Skywalker, but beyond that, what? Like, Leia being trained at all doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Like, it's never mentioned she was trained until literally those opening few scenes of The Rise of Skywalker, and we're just led to believe that she was trained so well that she was able to create this previously unseen lightsaber, and she was getting these precognitive dreams that were even stronger and more profound than Luke's own. And in the middle of all this, she was just somehow able to settle down, marry Han, and have a child as well, and this was just never brought up at any stage. Nah. And you are telling me that she was such a powerful user of the Force that she was able to transcend herself into a Force ghost, an ability that Qui-Gon Jinn couldn't even master sufficiently, had to settle for just being a mysterious voice. She just got better than he did. Right, yes, I know they wanted to give Carrie Fisher a nice send-off, and this is all a lovely way to do that, yes, but in the context of the narrative, which this whole video's about, I might add, doesn't make sense. Why couldn't C-3PO translate Sith writing? This one got me literally right in the middle of watching the film. Like, yeah, alright, fair enough, you might have droid programming that forbids the reading of Sith language. That does seem to me to be a very common sense thing to do, given that all the Sith were evil. But why does C-3PO have that? Think. The man gets traded across various parties, some of very unscrupulous nature. He has his memory wiped probably more times than he remembers, ironically enough. But where did C-3PO come from? He was literally hand-built on Tatooine by Anakin Skywalker, a child who had no idea what the Sith were. See, he programmed him, did he? Never to be able to read Sith writing when he was a boy. Huh? Now, alright, that might seem like small space potatoes, but the whole C-3PO can read but not translate Sith thing sets off this entire other subplot in The Rise of Skywalker. They go to an entire other planet. They spend half an hour of the film just going through these motions. So you gotta ask, why can't he do that? Who says he can't? Just to clarify, they're a droid that speaks every single language in the galaxy, built in the backyard of some absolute pube on a desert planet from spare parts and scraps. Someone somewhere had the forethought to ban him from reading Sith, and then that survived somehow all of his memory wipes. Why did Yoda destroy the tree if Rey had already taken the sacred texts? Now, it is a brilliantly emotional moment, yes, but at the end of The Last Jedi, Luke Skywalker contemplates burning down the sacred Jedi temple to destroy the sacred Jedi text, but he can't quite go through with it. And while he's mulling it over, Yoda appears from the afterlife, tells him to get over himself, get over yourself you must, and drops a lightning strike on the thing and burns it all down, because you've gotta let go of the old ways, you nerd. The Jedi Order, the Jedi texts, all of it, it led us nowhere but here on the side of this cliff, looking at how big and bad the First Order has become. So there's no point to it all. Burn it all down, he's trying to tell him, which is a great idea, it's a great plan, except that the texts aren't in there, because Rey's already taken them. Luke spends the entire film telling Rey that she can't just do things the way the Jedi used to do them, and Yoda arrives at the end to really hammer home that point. Jedi does not necessarily equal good, you have to chart your own path. So why the hell does she take the books? Like, basically, this is one of my favourite scenes in the entire Star Wars saga, and what it equates to is tiny green man blows up a tree for no reason. Why does nobody come to Leia's aid on Crate? In the third act of The Last Jedi, the ragtag remnants of the Resistance are bunkered in against the onslaught of the First Order. Leia sends a message out to the galaxy using her own personal call sign that now is the time they need everybody the most. And then a heartbreaking revelation, absolutely nobody answers that call. It's a brilliant scene in my opinion. It really builds up to Luke's return. It fits with the narrative of the film that far. It's a proper gut punch moment going into the final things, but it's kind of completely rendered redundant by the last scene of The Rise of Skywalker, because this time everybody comes to their aid. So literally nobody, practically everybody. Please, Star Wars, I know there's kind of this whole, we're going to be the spark that lights the fire, so if we just survive this, then maybe things will be better argument, but nobody comes the first time, and then all of a sudden all these fleets, all these planets, all these races are willing to send like entire armies worth of stuff the second time round to face a far scarier foe. I don't get it. What happened to DJ? Yeah, not really too much to say on this one. They just sort of did a fairly prominent casting and gave him a fairly prominent role in the movie and set him up as a fairly prominent character who gets a fairly prominent escape at the end of the movie, having fairly prominently influenced events and left fairly prominent narrative threads hanging, fairly prominent scores to be settled, and his prominence in the follow-up film was nada. Personally thought they were going to do a slightly weird thing where Zori takes her helmet off. It's not actually a sexy dame, but it's actually him in disguise. But no, nothing. Wasn't there at all. Why not? Who was the hacker with the red flower brooch? Yeah, speaking of the whole Canto Bite thing, they're only there because Maz tells them they need to find themselves a slicer to break onto Snoke's ship. So they journey there, improbably as it may seem, and they get there and they find this suave, sophisticated slicer, an intergalactic Saga James Bond type, played by Justin Theroux, of all people. So it's set up for a nice big part, and then, nope, gone, not using him, bye. Like, I know what a bait and switch is. I know you've got to have these little twists and turns in movies, but, like, you cast him quite prominently. There, I've said prominent about a million times in this video. You cast him quite well there. You set him up to be quite an important character, gave him an intriguing backstory, and audiences wanted to know more, and then you didn't want to tell them any more. I have questions still about him. Why did Luke travel with Lando? Right, just bear with me for a second here, because one of the major plot points of The Rise of Skywalker is that there is this hidden Sith planet of Exogel that Luke Skywalker attempted to find following the events of the original trilogy. He got his hands on one of these Sith wayfinders, of which only 2 exist, and he went off on this adventure. And The Rise of Skywalker follows our intrepid crew and their hairy friend androids as they attempt to pick up Luke's trail after it has gone cold. It takes them to a brand new desert planet, whereupon they happen on Lando Calrissian, who reveals that he and Luke were on the trail of Exogel until they gave up. But just for a second here, Luke Skywalker had many friends in the original trilogy, but Lando Calrissian was not one of them. They barely interact at all across those 3 films. He's got R2, he's got C-3, he's got Han, he's got Leia, he's got loads of really good buddies. Lando's not really one of them. So how did that happen? And why are they suddenly really good pals? And while we're on the case, Lando Calrissian was not some great noble adventurer. The man was a businessman, he was a cad, he was a bit of a rogue. Why is he on the hunt for some Sith wayfinder to try and find some really scary planet to do with the whole Jedi-Sith war that has been raging for thousands of years? What? I need to know the story behind that road trip. Why didn't Holdo and Leia tell people their plan? Right, I talked about this one at great length when the film first came out, but in The Last Jedi there is an entire subplot where Poe does not trust Admiral Holdo. He suspects that she's working against the Resistance somehow and tries to take over the ship to wrestle control of the Resistance from her evil clutches, but of course it turns out silly idiot boy, things were right all along. Now, my more learned film studies colleagues have told me the reason they do this is to transvert the expectations, all this yada yada, etc, etc. You can't just fly by the seat of your pants. Sometimes there is a better plan in play and you need to trust those people that you don't even know that well. I get it. I get why they wrote this story. I get it. I do. But just tell him. Like, yes, he is the arrogant, cocky flyboy. She does not owe him an explanation. But this is a crisis situation, and he's one of the Resistance's most important people. Her not telling him the plan, not laying out a very simple plan for him, leads to this whole, like, insurrection, mutiny thing, and then it's all just a big mess that's completely avoidable with just, look, right, I'm in charge here, we're gonna bail out of this ship in a little minute, that's just, you just need to just sit tight, everything will be fine, just shut up. If she'd done that, they would not have gone on a big, pointless side quest that ended in disaster, and he wouldn't have tried to do a big mutiny that ended in disaster, and just literally, just one arm around him. Just like, look, it's fine. I will never, as long as I live, understand that bit of writing. To this day, it makes my head hurt. Who is Rey's grandma? Yes, that's right, my friends, the most confusing revelation, not just from The Rise of Skywalker, not just from the new trilogy, but of the saga as a whole, is this. So, Emperor Palpatine does he? Now, yes, after her heritage was discussed in the first movie and then dismissed in the second, it transpires she is, in fact, the granddaughter of a resurrected Emperor Palpatine. Now, not a doctor, not a biologist, I'm not even a lover of particular renown. However, in order for someone to be your grandfather, think you need someone to be your grandmother, and then for that to happen, they have to, you know? And I mean, it's not just a bit of a contrived plot point, it is a genuine question you have to ask. Somebody out there, somewhere, smashed that. Is that what you're telling us? And Star Wars fans, because of course they have done this, have worked out precisely when in the timeline this should have taken place. And wouldn't you just know it, it comes pretty much around the exact time of the fall of the Republic and the rise of the Empire, which means one of two things, right? It means we're either dealing with Silver Fox Chancellor Palpatine able to schmooze his way into the bedchambers of many ladies of notable renown, or we're dealing with monstrous, warped, deformed Palpatine just shagging across the galaxy. Either way, I'm gonna level with you. The whole reason we've done this entire video is because we wanted to ask that question some way, somehow. Of all the things in Star Wars that don't make a lot of sense, there are millions. This was the one we want to discuss with you now. Palpatine did sex. I want to know who, I want to know who did it, I want to know where they did it, I want to know when they did it, I want to know what happened to the poor girl. I need to know all of this, please. So, if there's any fan theories out there, any wider lore that I may have missed in the comments, I beg you,